Hi, I'm Anita and I'm here at Port Sunlight celebrating Repair Week, which is running from the 3rd to the 9th of March. Later on this week there's a pop-up event that I'm going to be attending and demonstrating how to repair clothes using different techniques to repair your favourite clothes so you can keep them going for many years to come. Right, I'm going to get on with it now. And today I'm going to be showing you a couple of techniques that I use quite a lot when I'm doing repairing to clothes. I'm going to be showing you how to do some darning techniques, how to do some visible mending, which is where the mend becomes a little bit of art on your clothing itself. So I'm going to be doing some darning and some honeycomb darning on your jumpers and some shashiko mending on jeans. Which is like a Japanese embroidery technique that we incorporate into our mending. And I'm also going to be demonstrating some sort of invisible mending where it's appropriate. And for that, you need the machine, the sewing machine. For the other types of mending, you just need some sewing machine needles and yarn, which I'll get to in a bit. But to start off with, I'm just going to show you how to do some invisible mending, or mending that might not be like totally invisible, but it's going to be not obvious. It's not going to like take an art form. So I'm going to start off on this pair of jeans. Okay. So these are a well-worn, loved pair of jeans. Everyone has their own favourite pair of jeans that's just like you never want to let go of, do you? Because they're just like the fabric's nice and they fit you really nicely. So on this pair of jeans, we've got a big hole in the knee. I'm going to be demonstrating the shashiko mending on that. And I'm going to be starting off with these holes here that are just at the crotch. They're really common places that you'll have like a lot of wear at the crotch part of your jeans. And I'm going to be doing some invisible mending on this. So for this mend, you're going to need a very soft bit of fabric, especially if you're working with jeggings. You know, the jeggings that are very stretchy, they've got quite a lot of elastane in them, and although they're jeans, they've got stretching, and you don't want anything that's too stiff. You need to get quite a soft piece of fabric. So I've just cut out a little piece of denim here. And what I'm going to start off by doing is turning the trousers inside out. I'm going to start with this side first. Okay, and I've cut my fabric so that it just fits in nice into the curve of the crotch and the leg. Okay. Okay, so it's missing those seams, so you don't have to sew over those seams. And what I've cut this with pinking shears, but you don't have to do that. Pinking shears just give a little serrated edge that helps your fabric from stops your fabric from fraying as much. You're also going to need some of this. This makes things much faster. It saves you having to baste your piece of fabric into place. So this is just Wonderweb. It's called Wonderweb. What's this called here? It's called iron-on hemming web. So when you sandwich this between your two bits of fabric, it acts like a glue and it holds this patch in place, which saves you having to baste it into place and saves the patch moving around or having to use pins, which are going to just get in the way and snag things. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to make things easier. I'm just going to attach this Wonderweb to this side of the fabric. So the side of the fabric that's going to come into contact with the jeans themselves. Okay, I'm just going to take it to my machine. Now, you could use a zigzag stitch on this because a zigzag stitch also stops your fabric from fraying. So I'm going to attach this with a zigzag, so it's going to have a bit of a smaller one than that. So it's going to have two purposes there. It's going to stop the patch from fraying and it's going to attach this. So When I get to the end, I'm just going to rip a little bit off. Don't even have to use scissors, it just rips off, overlap it. There we go. And a bit more. Last piece. Oh. So I'm just going to make sure that none of these bits of wonderweb are poking out from underneath the patch, because they will sort of wreck your iron. So if you see that, you've just got your wonderweb there, and all I'm going to do now is get a nice hot iron, put this in place. There we go. I've got my iron. I'm just going to hold it on. So as I say, this works with jeggings as well. The main thing to remember is to have a nice soft piece of fabric on here. There we are, and that's just about melted. That's in place now, that's not going anywhere. So that's the underneath of your fabric. That's the underneath bit of the patch. Okay. So now I'm going to turn it around this way. Let's turn them. So there's my patch. You can feel it there, the patch underneath. So the thing is, if that was too stiff, this fabric that I put underneath this would make it really uncomfortable to wear. So you need, you don't even have to use denim. You could use like a little bit of an old t-shirt. You could cut a little bit of an old t-shirt up, something really soft, that's comfortable to wear. So I'm going to take it over to the machine now, and I'm going to get it in position. So what I usually do is, if you look at jeans, you'll find that they usually have like a twill, they've got like a diagonal grain. So I usually just use that grain and just follow that grain. So I'm going to put a very small stitch on. The smaller the stitch, the less you'll see it. But I don't want these stitches to be too close together, because if we overstitch this area, it's going to become also too stiff. So it needs to be, it needs to be just a very delicate touch, really. It needs to be strong, but delicate. Okay, so I'm going to follow the grain of the fabric itself. I'm going to put a really small stitch on. And when I get to the end, save me taking it off, I'm going to do one stitch, turn it round, put my needle down, lift my foot up, and come round again and go back on myself, okay? But I'm leaving about half a centimetre gap between each row of stitching, because you don't want it to be too stiff. Right, so I get to the end, leave my foot, needle down, lift my lever up at the back, twist it round at right angles, and I'm just going to put one stitch in. Oh. And that's going to give me a gap. There you go. You probably need to do that about 20 times for this So as you see, I'm following the grain of the twill of the denim. There's like a diagonal grain, so I'm following that grain, and that's sort of making my stitches disappear. So I've come to the end now, and I'm going to put my needle down, lift the lever to lift the presser foot up. I'm going to go at right angles to that row of stitching, and I'm just going to do one stitch. And what that does, it gives us a gap in between the rows of stitching. Okay, so you can see the rows of stitching I've done. Now, as you're doing this, make sure nothing's caught underneath, because I've often done a lovely patch, and when I've looked, something's just got caught. So now you see we're just leaving a little gap between those rows of stitches. Like I say, if they're too close together, you'll just make the whole area too stiff and uncomfortable. Okay, so now there's our mend. I've still got to do this little bit here. I've just run out of cotton underneath. So you notice that I've used really tiny little stitches, and that's to help it to sort of disappear into the weave of the fabric. The important thing is to use a cotton that's as close to the denim as you can, and I know there's two shades in denim. So I've sort of used like a silvery grey, and it seems to have disappeared quite well. Okay, so I've got to carry on over here, but also when I'm finished, I'm going to turn that over and I'm going to sew right around the edge of the patch, and that's to stop it, because it's only wonderwebbed on at the moment, that's going to come off with a few washes. So I just don't want this bit rolling up and causing chaffing. You know, you've got to have that nice and flat to your skin. Okay,